Hey guys, how we doing? Just Juicy here, and we've got a very special guest for our Inner Circle interview this month. It is New Zealand's opening bat, Martin Guptill. Martin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Juicy.
Absolute mate, legend for coming on. As you guys know, he's one of the most destructive players in the world, really. And where are you ranked at the moment in white ball cricket?
I think I'm about 7 in T20s and just outside the top 10 in one days, I think.
Uh, there we go. We got one day royalty with us, guys. So awesome. So Guppy, let's dive in. Let's start back in New Zealand. How did you first sort of get into cricket?
Well, being the youngest in my family, I always followed what my older brother and my dad were doing. So, my dad played many years of Premier Club cricket at our club, and my brother followed, and then being the youngest, I sort of just followed suit with that as well. So that's how I got into it, and many years playing backyard cricket at home with my brother and my dad.
So did you have to be a bowler when they were batting, or were you always a batter?
Uh, well, it actually pretty well shared around. To be fair, I was, being 3 years younger than my brother, always trying to be better and trying to get him out as much as I could. And I guess luckily for me, I was able to, and I got to bat quite a bit. So and then I ended up playing in teams with him when I was 3 years younger than everyone else. So I was always striving to try and foot it with the big kids. So I think that's what really got me into really wanting to play cricket, from a young age.
So what age did you realise that you had a pretty rare talent and could go all the way?
Um, I guess probably under 19s actually. It was my first year. I was still playing under 17 cricket, and I was picked as an off spinner who could open the batting a bit for the under 19 team. And it's just so happened that I didn't bowl very well on that trip, and I scored quite a lot of runs. And it was from there that I really sort of started to kick on. Previous years to that, I'd always been there and thereabouts in the rep teams and never really excelled. But that was the first time that I really put a foot forward and sort of excelled past people's expectations.
Okay, so a little bit like Peterson then. You used to be mainly a spinner with the batting as sort of your second trait, and then it took over.
Yeah, I guess so. I was still more of a batsman going leading into that, but the Auckland selectors, the under 19 selectors at that time thought, my batting probably wasn't quite up to it, but I could have had another string to my bow. I could bowl spin as well, so that was sort of how I got into that team. But I, as I said, I didn't bowl very well, and I scored lots of runs, and from there my batting really took over as I guess my number one skill.
So how did from the 19s then? What was your pathway to getting in the full New Zealand team?
From there, I played 3 years of under 19s, and in my last year of under 19s, I got pulled out of the under 19 tournament to play for the top Auckland side in a few one days, and then I think I played about five one days and three T20s or a couple of T20s, and then went to the under 19 World Cup with New Zealand. That was in 2006, and then played another couple of years for Auckland. My second year, I didn't do too well. Could barely make the side, wasn't scoring a lot of runs, and then the next year had an indifferent year. Red Ball wasn't so good, but I topped the runs in one day stuff and went okay in the 2020s. And then I made, and it's winter of 2008, we had an emerging players tournament in Australia that I went to, and I was our top run scorer there and got selected on the New Zealand A trip to India a couple of months after that. So that was the first, I guess, New Zealand rep stuff, and then I think January 2009, not long after those two trips, I made my ODI debut for New Zealand. So it's quite a quick, from that 2008 season, it was quite a quick rise to the New Zealand team.
Yeah, geez. I mean, how did you cope with going up the different levels? And obviously the bowling would get better each time. And how did you adapt to it all?
Yeah, it was quite difficult. I mean, in the emerging players tournament, it was sort of more guys around my age and younger, with a few older heads sort of mixed in between. So for that, it was quite a good experience. I hadn't played a lot of cricket against other countries before, and we played against India, Australia, and South Africa in Brisbane, and that was a fantastic tournament. Unfortunately, they've stopped doing that a few years ago now. So it's a little bit harder for those guys who are sort of there or thereabouts coming through the ranks to get that winter cricket against other people from other countries who are in the same boat. So it'd be great if they could start that up again. And then just going to India for the first time was a completely different experience again. We were playing against Australia and India in a tri-series one-day tournament, and the calibre of the bowlers there was actually a lot harder to face than what I had previously faced before. Australia had like Sean Tate, Brett Jeeves, had a few other international quality bowlers coming and steaming in at us, so that was quite a bit different for us. And then India A was, they had a fantastic attack as well. Guys like Praveen Kumar, Suresh Raina. We played against Saurav Ganguly in a 4-day game on that trip as well. So they had some seriously good players playing for them as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, like cricket strength, we'll mainly talk about bowlers and try and keep bowlers fit. And Steph and Steph's big thing is to help quick bowlers because he wants to see quick bowlers. So talk about when you played people like Tate and the other quick bowlers you faced. What would be your mindset as a batter going into face these guys?
I guess back then it was, this guy's quite quick. I've never faced anything like this before. I was a bit, I guess, shocked that I was about to go out and face this guy who can bowl 150. Luckily for us, it was on slow wicket, so it wasn't as bad as I thought. But then, once you play against it a few times, you actually get used to it quite quickly. Your body just naturally adapts, and you become, I guess, quicker on your feet, and your reaction time becomes a lot faster, and you're able to cope with it a lot better. So, coming up against these guys nowadays, it's, there's a lot of guys who can bowl in those mid to late 140s and can touch 150. So, you're facing it all the time, and, while it's not too much fun to do it, you do it because it's your job and you love doing it. So, you come up against it all the time nowadays.
Is there any, obviously coaches try to recreate it, getting bowling machines on, at high speeds and stuff like that, but is there much similarity there, or is it once you're in there when someone's wanging it down at that pace, totally different?
I guess for me, when I'm training at home and coming up against someone who's going to bowl reasonably quick, I get on the bowling machine and get tennis balls thrown through the machine. In Auckland, we've got one of the baseball bowling machines that you can actually get the tennis balls through at 100 miles an hour. So it's it helps your reaction time there, and you're able to figure out if you go along bounce the length, which ones you're able to play and which ones you can't control. So that's a big part of my training when I'm coming up against someone that's going to be bowling decent wheels.
So would you rather face the quick guys or the dibbly-dobblies like Mitch?
I'd hate to face Mitch. No, I definitely, someone with a bit of pace is a lot easier. The ball coming onto the bat, you can hit through the line a bit more. The dibbly-dobbly guys are, there's quite a few around county cricket, and trust me, they're not much fun to face.
No, they look horrible. So you got into sort of New Zealand reckoning and everything. When did you realise that the white ball was going to be more your calling than red ball?
I guess throughout my whole career, starting with Auckland, that for some reason the white ball stuff's gone a little bit better. I guess I felt a little bit more free at the crease, and I was able to express myself a lot more. It's only really in the last sort of 3 or 4 years that I've, for Auckland especially, that I've been able to, find that freedom at the crease and go out and be able to just to play my natural game, and that's. It got me back into the test team for New Zealand, and then being dropped the last couple of years, it's been a bit harder to get back in. But I'm give it another crack to try and get back in the test team and see how we go.
So what are the main differences in your approach to play then? Say, because you played a couple of times for us this year in red ball cricket, and then obviously went to 2020. So what was your mindset change, or anything about your setup that you changed?
Not so much about my setup. Early doors in the first game against Lang, so I just wanted to try and spend a bit of time with the wicket. As the ball was doing a fair bit that first morning, and we found ourselves in a bit of trouble. And then second innings, I just thought, no, we've just got to try and have a go here and be as positive as I can, and that paid off, and managed to score 100. So it was obviously two different mindsets when I was at the crease against Lancashire, and then against Notts, I just wanted to be as positive as I could as well, and got a couple of good starts, but just wasn't able to kick on. And but yeah, different formats, you need different mindsets. I think you still want to be positive in the red ball game, but obviously not as, I guess you could say, reckless as you can be in the white ball game nowadays.
Now let's talk a little bit about your innings against Northants in the 2020. because you got 100, and it was I was a little bit gobsmacked, really. And I've had 18 years in the game watching, and I was just like, I couldn't get my head around it because it didn't look brutal, if you know what I mean. It just looked like, not like, it didn't look like you were slogging, but you were. It was just ridiculous. What sort of, when you're in that almost zone and you're seeing the ball and you go 6.6.66. What's going on there? Is it just a bang? I'm here now.
Yeah, it is a wee bit like that. Against, when I got that double hundred in the World Cup quarter final, I got into this sort of the same space where it just felt like you get every ball wherever you wanted. It was a little bit more slogging in the T20 one you're speaking of, but no, it was a funny old innings, that one. I couldn't hit the ball off the square to start with. I think it was about 5 or 7 balls, and then hit 45 off the next 13 balls or something like that. So it was a bit of a crazy little innings, and then obviously I was able to kick on, and with Clark at the other end smacking a few as well. We put on a decent partnership in quick time.
It was crazy though, because after 3 overs it looked really tough, but then I looked at the board and it was something like 34 for none. It was like, what's going on in this game? It's just ridiculous. Like,
Clark had about 30 of those, and then I caught up. I hit I think I hit 44 off 2 overs after that, and that got me going. So yeah, it's funny how cricket works like that. Sometimes you can't hit the ball off the square, and then 2 overs later you just start whacking it everywhere. So it's funny old game, and hopefully tonight in the CPL I can do the same.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So obviously you're playing different 2020 tournaments throughout the world. Tell us about the differences in the countries, how it's played, or is your mindset pretty much the same wherever you go?
Yeah, I've got to try and keep the same mindset, be as positive as I can, and try and get the team off to a flying start. Obviously, over here in the Caribbean, some naturally gifted athletes here who can hit the ball to any parts of the ground, as we saw Andre Russell do not that long ago for Jamaica. And then obviously there's guys all across the board here who can just smack the ball hard from a good hard length. So it's being there's a lot more runs scored here this year, and a lot more tough work for the bowlers. And previous years the wickets have helped out the bowlers a lot more. So times I guess are changing, and batsmen are figuring out how to bat on these wickets here, and hopefully I can figure it out tonight and whack a few to the boundary.
Brilliant, mate. Let's hope so. Guys, again, Guppy's got a game tonight. He's joined us this morning, so thank you so much for joining us, mate. Really appreciate it. Go well tonight, and hopefully we'll see you back at Worcester soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks, Juicy. Cheers for having me, mate.
Cheers, Dada.